Friday night. We hope that you've had a wonderful week and that in starting the weekend, we can create some food for thought for you that you can munch on like a good meal and go into the weekend feeling that you've had your mind fed as well as hopefully having a laugh or two and getting some additional information. And just so that you know, I'm Dr. John Robertson. I'm a clinical psychologist here in Orlando, Florida. And I'd like to also share the knowledge that my co-host, Mr. Charles Morris, has an ineffable. Now, you know, I messed up my own word, Charles, tonight. You know.
That's okay.
As they say, I should have gotten my dictionary out before I tried it.
Oh, well.
But in other words, you a bad mofo.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
That's the real translation.
Okay. All right. That's thank you.
and for those who have little ones, that did not mean what you think it means. It's just that. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Welcome to the Journey 2020. I'm Charles Morris. Happy to be with you. Coming to the end of the summer. As you know, here in Florida, we've been getting a lot of rain. I think because of the changing of the seasons, the temperature is starting to change. The temperature is starting to change just a tad. And I always say October is my favorite month out of the year. The nights are nice and comfortable. The days are nice and sunny in the 80s, and then the temperature drops and it's nice and cool for being in Florida. And then you have and then you have football, baseball, hockey, and basketball. You know, and then you get to celebrate Halloween with the kids. Yeah. But that I think in the month of October is when we really start getting ready for Thanksgiving and Christmas and the New Year's as well. And then you see, and if you from up north, but in the month of October, you also, because I spent some time up north, you see the changing in the seasons and the leaves and everything starts to change and it looks so pretty and everything. So October, I think, is my favorite month out of the year. Wow. But we had been having conversations over the last couple of weeks in reference to Kim Davis. Pastor Jenkins, my pastor at True Vine Baptist Church, came in last week, and I think the week before we had talked about her in reference to some things. But we are looking for some guests to come in because I asked a question, and I would like to hear from a female point of view the question that I would love to ask. But before all of that, you asked me before the show started, did I see the debate the other night? So I'm going to let you take that from here.
My goodness. So you're going to throw that back on me.
Well, I mean, you said you wanted to talk about it, so and I was just saying, I saw.
Give me the opportunity.
Yeah.
Great. It is fascinating. Watching that debate, for me, there was an aspect of unreality to it. As I was watching not just Donald Trump, but some of the other folks, the Rubios and the Fiorinos, the Carly Fiorino, the Pataki, who people still say, George who, and all of those folks, basically, to me, making up schoolyard stories about who they are and what they're about was just like watching a cartoon. And as somebody said that it's the Republican comedy show.
Right. Mm-hmm.
The only thing that is scary about it is that these individuals are actually taking it serious, or at least most of them are. As I said, I don't know about Donald Trump. It's still hard for me to believe that he's taking running for the presidency seriously. But to know that these are the folks who might control, as they say, that button that could potentially send us to, Armageddon.
I there I always I would love to have a room full of people like yourself and no, because I mean the older I get, I don't know, I think it's just my personality, and maybe I just haven't learned, because I'm serious, because I find it hard, and I been in media for a long time, for a very long time. And so I get the whole thing of when you were on TV and radio and how you have to, depending on where you're working and the job title that you're holding, that you have to be non-biased. You can't really have an opinion if you're the host, depending, based on the circumstances. Okay. Now, with that being said, I have a problem with how things sometimes are structured, because you can't be honest. You have to try to be politically correct when you are on that forum. So you can't be honest. You have to be politically correct, and that's where I have a problem, because I just can't turn around and say to you, "You a damn lie."
Right.
But when it's so true, and I can't do that when that really is what needs to be said. Just say, actually, you don't have to use that. You can't say that's really a stupid lie and a stupid comment. And it just, and I don't mean it to that degree, but I think a lot of times people say stuff in a debate or in a forum like that. Or I give you a perfect example. When I was going through what I was going through, when I was being terminated by Orange TV, by Orange County. Now, my ignorant butt, I'm serious, because now I realize how ignorant I was. Because by the time I figured out that it was never about the truth, it was about what somebody wanted. Now, I got to sit there with this manager, and he's lying like left and right. But I can't say how much he's lying, and it doesn't matter, not because it was me,
right?
But the point of it is that he's the manager, and no matter what comes out his mouth is truth, to the point that whatever comes out of my mouth, it doesn't matter.
Right.
So I have to be politically correct among the people that we're in this meeting. I'm trying to save my job,
right?
And I'm sitting there next to a man that I need to turn around and say, "You just need to stop all this darn lying, man."
Right.
But I can't. I mean,
right.
As a matter of fact, Commissioner, what's his name? Oh God, why can't I? God, I can't think of his name right now.
Current.
No.
Oh.
He.
You're not talking about Hardage?
Hardage.
Okay.
Right. I went to see Hardage about what was going on, and he said something to me in reference to what was going on, and he said, "Well, hold on, see, that's your problem right there. You just speak up." And I'm like, "Well, I'm telling the truth." So now he was telling me I need to, whatever that is that I don't have a grip on,
right?
Because if you lying, you lying. And I don't know how else to say, but what, you're telling a lie.
Yeah.
But even to the point where I went somewhere else. Okay, this is when Jerry Demings was over public safety and talking to Jerry. Now Jerry said, and I'm not because it's my case, but I'm trying to give you an example,
right?
Of, well, won't you? I've been among these situations. I sat in these in these cases, and they've asked for a lie detector. Won't you tell them you'll take a lie detector test? I said, I'll take a lie detector test. they ain't heard none of that. They didn't even care about that. Right. So that's what I'm saying. So it's just so funny, not funny, but it's just interesting that the truth is not part of what should be when it comes to life, liberty, and who we are. And people, it's so easy to sit up there and call the president a Muslim because you sound so stupid. I mean, 8 years later, well, they mean a Muslim, not in a Muslim type way to be like, well, a Muslim. No, they mean it like he's from over there and he carry around a bomb pack.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
That's what he's trying to say. And you just look and you just am so amazed the ignorance. I mean, we're all ignorant of something.
Yeah.
But it's just like the backwoods of Uba Booba. Is that where you coming from? Because you got to be from the backwoods of somewhere.
Yeah.
But when you say, for an example, Black Lives Matter, there's nothing wrong with it. The problem is the word black is in it, and that's the only problem.
Yeah, exactly.
But see, nobody will say that.
Right.
And that's the problem.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with saying Black Lives Matter, Asian Lives Matter, Mexican Lives Matter. But you want to put a twist on it simply because the word black is in it, because of how you see me.
Right.
How you see the president. You can't even acknowledge this man is your president because he's a black man.
Right.
And so when you talk about the true issues of this country, as a matter of fact, the world, and how you see me, because I'm not equal. I'm certainly not educated. I'm certainly stupid. I'm certainly not capable.
Right.
And I'm certainly all these things that is so beneath you that there's no way on God's green earth you can ever wake up and feel equal to me. And the reality of it is, I don't want anything from you. All I want to do is live my life and have an equal opportunity.
Right. Exactly.
I ain't trying to. I'm just being the best I can. But whatever your fear is, I don't have nothing to do with that.
Right.
Okay, I have nothing to do with your fear and whatever your issues are, and you trying to place it on me because whatever that gene is in you to make you think you better than me or make you think you higher, it's a sickness. It would have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I say all of that and to talk about the debate and what's going on. It's just, I hate this time of the year because it represents just who we are as a whole as a country.
Right.
Not all of us in the sense, but the issues and the problems that we face and why Washington is the way that it is, and it ain't gonna ever change because we won't recognize or come together enough to know that they work for us, and we take away our power. We give it to them because of the little things that we fight over because of whatever it is, dealing with our own insecurities, and we want to be divided because I'm better than you.
Exactly.
And that's part of why we have. See, this is confusing to me, and help me.
Okay.
Help me.
All right.
Why we have a Republican Party, a Democratic Party, why we have a left wing, a right wing, a wing, a conservative, a liberal. Because to me, even the Republicans or the Democrats, they don't agree.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so how is that any different than two people coming together who has a goal of we're trying to achieve the same goal, but in a different way. Okay, so just because I disagree, but don't mean that I'm out to get you or trying to deny you. I just have a different way of wanting to do this. But we make it seem like, well, you know what? You really want to kill me. That's what you want to kill me.
Right.
And so this whole thing of we just have different opinions, but that whole thing of left wing, right wing, conservative, liberal is a way of just saying I can separate myself and feel good about because I'm better than you.
Yeah.
And that separation is about that much.
Yeah.
And
the reality is that there is so much actual overlap, in the if you want to call it the political beliefs, of these folks, that if you were to take a so-called conservative Democrat and a moderate Republican, you probably couldn't tell the difference. Yeah, but one of the things that I go back to Frances Cress Welsing, the psychiatrist, in her book, The ISIS Papers, talks about how individuals, in order to make themselves feel, in order to defend against feelings of being less than or feeling threatened, then create that division, look at someone other that looks differently than themselves, acts differently than themselves, turns them into what she calls the other.
And see, the funny
Okay,
thing
go ahead.
is, I was just having this conversation the other day. It's so funny how people look at things. And there's a friend of mine that I was very close to, and we were together. She used to live with me, and I eventually my lease ran out, and I lived with her and her father, and we was more like business partners eventually. And I was very close to her and her mother and her father, and we were very close, and we're actually still close to today. I actually went and videotaped the wedding when she got married up in New York and everything.
Oh, okay.
And her mom and mother passed away about two years ago, and it's so funny. We had a conversation. Day before yesterday was a birthday, and she's supposedly sending me her mother ashes. I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay.
That's
All right.
that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But when we were back when we were doing our little, we had a dance troupe, and we would supply entertainment here in the local area for Universal and other people,
Okay.
and worked a lot with the Magic cheerleaders because that was part of our dance troupe, dancers and stuff.
Nice.
So she used to be a Cleveland Cavalier cheerleader. And back then, she became very close friends with John Bagley, who played at Boston College, and was then he played for New Jersey. But when he got traded to Boston, he was there when Larry Bird was playing. So at that time, I mean, as you know, the Magic and Boston are in the same division.
Right.
So they would play each other maybe about 3 or 4 times a year, here. So whenever they came to town, John automatically had tickets for us. So in the office, she would be having conversations about, hey, my friend John Bagley here, we're going to go see, blah, blah. But her friends knew that I was very close to her. So, and I say all this to say, they're asking her, well, is he jealous of John? Is he jealous of John? And so I'm looking at her, and she's looking at me, and I'm like, why would I be jealous of John? Because of his success in the NBA, but whatever that is.
Right.
I can't be someone I could be like, wow, I wish that could, because I played basketball, but
Right.
but they didn't even know that part of me.
Ah, okay.
It was just the fact that she was associated with somebody who was extremely successful, and now there's me. So I can't be somebody who would be very proud of this brother who's doing very well, who came out of Connecticut from the hood, beat all the odds, and doing very well.
Okay.
So you wake up with this, whatever that is, and I'm thinking about people like that who go through life, let alone have a family, and what you bring into the room, what you invite into the room. And that's kind of like what I have with conversations with some of my female friends,
Right.
which is the same thing, because I can remember when I scratched France's floor. Okay? Now, I know some sisters that if I had scratched the floor, oh my goodness. But the conversation was like, oh, don't worry about that. I got something I can just cover it up real fast and went on to something else. And I'm like, oh, no, that's cool.
Right. Yeah.
Only because being a man, and at that time I'd had a few birthdays,
Okay.
knowing what you bring to the room with the attitude and the conversations you have over the little simple stuff, and the things that fail because of where you put your little pressure. I mean, your this is priceless points on something who has only value to you in the sense of what that little scratch on the floor is. Oh my God, you just burned up my house.
Okay, yeah.
So, but I see all of that to say when I'm looking at us overall, I don't see where there's going to be. It's kind of like I was just watching it before you came in. I was watching CNN, and one of the reporters said it's a sign of the times to show how serious things are when Donald Trump is where he is in the polls. For this man to be talking about becoming president of the United States,
Right. Yeah.
it just shows where we are and how bad the times are. And that's the truth.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Well, let me amend that a little bit, and as you were talking about how bad the times are, for those individuals hanging on to the old values, and the old privileges, that some people would like to call, white privilege. Yeah, I think this is a bad time, for them, because the country is changing, the economy is changing, the kind of automatic benefits that those folks that were that believed that they were part of the powers that be, although they never were. And I'm talking about middle class and poor white individuals. Now they are. I would say a lot of the pundits want to talk about the American public being angry, and the way that I see it, looking at it from a psychological point of view, I see more fear than anger, and you may want to say, well, what's the difference, and that is that the anger can be related to feeling somehow that you've got to defend yourself, that somehow someone is there, let's say coming into your house, so called, and the reaction is that fight or flight, or freeze, okay. And another perspective on it is that when you're feeling that no matter what you do, that your house is going to be taken away from you, and that you can't figure out what to fight, and so often that sense often can be fear, that sense that something is going to be taken away, but I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know when it's going to be. I don't know how it's going to be. But, I'm really fearful, and anxiety is part of that.
Right.
And so when you get to that stage,
Mm-hmm.
often people will then look to anyone or anything that is that they feel somehow is going to defend them or to protect themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And we can relate this to stories from childhood, and I'm sure you experienced this.
Right.
You had a kid come and let's say, man, I don't like you. I'm going to kick your butt.
Right.
Well, perhaps you have missed that individual, coming out of school, but often that sense of being fearful of saying, well, Is he going to get me when I'm not looking? Is he going to come up behind me? Is he going to wait until tomorrow and, jack me up in the playground or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
And that sense of the anxiety and the fearfulness being there. And in many ways, and my analysis may be totally off, but I see those individuals supporting someone like a Trump or a Cruz or several of them as being in this kind of state of pervasive fearfulness where the feeling is that something is going to be taken away. And I'm going to look at this Trump, this demagogue, that somehow he is going to save me. He is really going to defend me.
He's
and
funny.
Talk up for me, etc.
He is. He's extreme. But the funny thing is that he never has an answer. But he's going to always have a team.
Right, yeah.
A team. And our team, and we're going to look into that.
Mm-hmm.
It never an answer, but we're going to look into that.
Yeah.
And I truly think that most people think that his wealth is going to rub off on them. That's why they, that's why they're crazy about him, thinking that it's going to rub off, and somehow or another he's going to give what he's going to trump you.
Right. Yes. Good. Yeah.
All of a sudden, we're all going to be trumped.
Right. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's just, and I think what is really that I'm overtaken by is that I can't believe that he is just so arrogant to the point that he's like a child,
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like his mama didn't beat his butt. I'm serious, I'm putting it nicely, but he's like a little spoiled little brat,
Yeah.
that need to go over there and he need a timeout. I mean, I'm putting it nicely, but
Yeah.
he doesn't know how to address people. He just has a spirit of arrogance and he has the answer for everything, which means that there's a when I talk with kids, I ask them about Howard Hughes, and of course when I talk to the kids, they don't know who he is, right? And so I say, well, I try to get them to Google him and to read upon him.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I use him as an example, and you can kind of use like Michael Jackson as an example as well, but I use him as an example of a man who was so successful in the sense of the American dream and how we see people, how we see Trump. But he had everything that we thought we want. But the one thing that didn't cost him any money that the poorest of poorest people have is somebody to go put their arm around you and say, hey, come on, you need some help.
Right.
You need help. Now here's a man who has all the money in the world, was found dead in his room wearing about 80 pounds with needles stuck in his arm simply because he didn't have anybody to go put his arm around it.
Yeah.
But you got all the money in the world. So how do you put a price on that in the sense of what life's about? And are you really blessed?
Well, it gets back to a theme that I think Pastor Jenkins, hit on last week, and one of the things that you and I have discussed often, and that is that so much of our society is focused in on the material attainments, those things that we can see and have that define us. And I think these individuals that are going for Donald Trump, and I would agree with your point, see themselves as somehow, if they ally themselves psychologically to Trump, that some of that, deal making, some of that wealth is going to trickle down.
Yeah, see, I got a feeling everybody gonna move to Vegas.
and help his casinos, be more successful.
Everybody gonna have their own little casinos, and whatever goes on in Vegas gonna stay in Vegas, right?
Right, exactly.
So it's just like it's crazy,
Yeah.
But for people to actually see things the way that they do, it's just wow. And Donald Trump it's scary.
Well, and Charles, see if this makes any sense. I think this is a great time for actually for all people, and especially for black people, people of color, or really anybody that is interested in truly being able to see in a very bald way some of the dysfunction and misfunctioning of some of our societal values is to truly, key into and watch what Donald Trump is doing. And the interesting thing, too, Charles, is that Trump may be the major icon. He has the polls going up and all this kind of stuff. If you listen to many of the other speakers that were on that debate last night, and they were in many ways trying to be Trump light, or mini Trump. Okay,
That's funny.
like mini me. All right.
Yeah, that's funny.
And to try to put a little cover on some of the same emphasis, on value. One of the people that I could point out is one of our Florida politicians, Marco Rubio.
Okay.
Okay, and Rubio, who again is of Cuban descent, who talks about his family coming from Cuba to build a better life here, and even put a political spin on it, and to say to escape the dictatorship, of Castro. Even though I understand that he actually left, or his family left, before Castro came into power, but who now is wanting to support a view of banning, or let me put it this way, of severely limiting any immigration, and is supporting basically exporting current political or current illegal, quote unquote, immigrants, wherein his own relatives, some of them, had been at one point refugees or illegal immigrants, if you want to call it that. But there's no accountability. There's no sense, well, we may need to really take a look at what this man is saying, and take a look at how, in draping himself in the American flag, is being so un-American, as I would call it, because we all remember that poem by Emma Lazarus that is on the Statue of Liberty, and that bring me your huddled masses, your poor. Now, the interesting thing was that those huddled masses initially were, white Europeans. Okay. But somehow the interpretation of that, with the change in color of the immigrant, now is, we gonna build a wall. Okay. And so we really need to take a look at what has happened historically. I remember, we were talking about how, in talking about drugs, where in a discussion in Congress, they actually talked about, raising the caliber of bullets so that it could stop these black folks who would be going wild on cocaine. In immigration, now it is to stop those Mexican gang members who are coming over here and they're robbing and they're raping and all this good kind of stuff. And there are actually folks who listen to this
Right.
and say, yeah, we need to build that wall. You know, we need to. And when somebody told Trump that, Mr. Trump, you know, actually a lot of immigrants are coming here and they're flying in, you know, so, you know, I raised that ridiculousness to say how two-faced
Mm-hmm.
our country, you know, the values of our country can be. And believe me, I really do love this country. You know, as some of our audience may remember, I'm an immigrant myself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Right.
and so when I think of what the potential of this country has been for my parents and for myself, again, I don't think we could have achieved that anywhere else.
Yeah.
But it doesn't blind me to also to the perception that we are woefully much less than we could be as a country.
Now, what's funny is, you know, the Republicans are lost. You know that, right?
You know.
No. What I mean by that
Uh.
is because of the change in this country.
Mm.
So that whole thing and how they, you know, would always could rely on the majority of the white vote and who the masses in which they appeal to. So that whole arrogance that they have shown, I think they're trying to re-strategize or rethink how they're approaching the elections from now on, because it's not working.
Mm-hmm.
And this country has changed forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why we are what we are when it comes to Trump and what's really going on.
Mm.
And I think overall, I do think that we are in trouble.
Mm.
But I don't think in my lifetime that people will really rise up and really see what's really going on in reference to how Washington is controlling this country
Mm.
with more of the benefits for the people that's in Washington versus the people of this country.
Mm-hmm.
And until a lot of things are rewritten and restructured in how Congress and the representatives run this country, again, I think the people that have always been put in the White House has always been bought
Mm-hmm.
and will continue to be
Mm-hmm.
until it's restructured.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that we'll ever really get to the point where we're looking at people and not wanting the true American dream
Mm.
by means of, I want to be to me, I think the American dream truly is that I want to be the dictator. You know, I want to run everything is what I mean.
I hear you.
And it's just so funny that as we were talking about, one of the problems that when it comes to the church,
Mm.
and Pastor Jenkins talked about this as well, is that a lot of these churches always preach by not being the tail but being the head.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, they don't talk about the blessings in being in the tail,
Mm-hmm.
because somebody got to be in the tail.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, but you make it seem like if you part of the tail, like there's something bad.
Mm.
But at sometimes you have to be the tail to get to the head.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't talk about the blessings in the tail,
There you go.
you know? And so when they speak, there's always talking about being, you know, part of the head.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's just too much that needs to be said as you come from that part to get as you rise.
Mm.
Because somebody got to take out the garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody, and doesn't mean, and it's kind of like the gentleman that we had with the kids talked about that he shined shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the okay, the kids heard, all they heard was that he shined shoes, and I told this story before. Well, he shined shoes up there in Tallahassee, and been up there all these years, and end up owning all these. A lot of the airports that you walk into and you see people shining shoes, he owned that part of the airport. They working for him. And so here's this man who's gone through generation of governors, has all the ends, and know who, and who to talk to and when.
Right.
And basically got a lot of money. Got a lot of money.
Right.
But you look at him as part of the tail, because he shines shoes.
Okay.
And it's so sad that we look at life that way, because you don't know what your true blessings are going to be, because we're so busy trying to think that being the head, because there's a million stories that you can tell. There's nothing wrong with wanting to have the best of the best. But if you don't understand the blessings of the Lord, you can be the handsome Kennedy.
Yeah.
But you can't fly a plane at night.
Right. Yeah.
You could be a Kennedy president of the United States, and your brains are scattered over the backseat of a car. And then all of a sudden, Sirhan.
Yeah.
And the list goes on and on. And I don't mean to break it down that way, but my father, who has never had no money, had a serious case of pneumonia at 84 years old. I'm serious, a case of pneumonia. And in December, my father be 86 years old.
Oh, bless his heart. Okay.
So what I'm saying is that if you got the blessing of the Lord, and I don't mean to get off on this, but I'll just say this, I'll share this with you. Despite the lack of my relationship with my father, and understanding his challenges, and understanding my father's always been a blue collar worker, never really had any money, but you see through all of his struggles and his shortcomings how God works in his life. And then when he lost his house, he was over there in the ghetto. Okay, and he's in the apartment place where they play the music loud, and you got this going, and you can hear them going, and da.
Yeah.
And you go over there and you see the roaches, and see some stuff down there for some rats and stuff like that. Da. But my father is, as long as he got his coffee, got his cable TV, he's good, because he's just that simple.
Yeah.
He's just that simple. So as I go and I'm thinking about how this man lost his house, has been in the family, and I'm thinking about this, I'm upset about this, I'm upset by that, and that's his life.
Right.
Yeah. So now that when he moves out, God, kind of revealed to me God and how he got the place, because when he lost the house, how he got the place was a blessing. The guy who bought the house through the bankruptcy and all this stuff say, I'm gonna move you here in this over here. And always looked out for him. I'm not gonna ever raise your rent.
Yeah.
You's a good man. I like you. I come by, Mr. Morris. I'm gonna take. I'm looking after you.
Right.
So I will never raise your father's rent. I said, oh, okay. So now when he's moving out, and now he's in the home.
Yeah.
He's in this place, and I see why God sent him there. Right? Because what I learned, all what I call the ghetto, all the places where they playing the music loud, they looked after my father.
Okay.
They made sure he was okay. They came in and made sure and did stuff for him. So they were his little angels, and they go, hey man, how your father doing? Man, I miss him, man. Because I went to clean out his place, because he'd been gone for a year. Finally clean. Hey man, I miss your father, man. How you doing? So now, and the key thing where God opened my eyes, sitting there in the ghetto apartment complex, and it's ghetto. Right.
Okay.
Right. I come out the next morning. You gotta look up at me. I never really seen him, but he looked up at me. I'm looking up at him. He said, "Hey man, no. His girlfriend or his wife, one of the girlfriend wife.
Mm-hmm.
She said, you dropped $7 last night out of your pocket.
Mm.
Reached in my pocket. I said, yeah, I did.
Mm-hmm.
He said, my boyfriend got it for you in there. I was like, oh.
Okay.
He came out, yeah, man, you dropped your money last night, man.
Uh-huh.
I was like, I did not know that
Right.
until you told me. He said, yeah, man. And I was like, wow. And I gave him the 2 and he gave me a 5. I said, hey, man, keep the 2, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I said, thank you. He said,
Mm-hmm.
No problem.
There you go.
But when you see the place,
Mm-hmm.
you see the roaches,
Mm-hmm.
and you saw where you was living.
Right.
But my father, all he needs is his cup of coffee
Right.
and his cable TV, and he's
And-
good to go.
And he's all right.
And as God is my witness,
Mhm.
if he was in Windermere,
Mm-hmm.
he wouldn't be any happier than he was if he was in. And I'm not saying that's what I want for my father.
Right. Exactly. No.
But what I'm saying is, my father is as simple can be.
Mm-hmm.
Got his TV,
Mm-hmm.
got his cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And even when he was playing some of his loud music, the guy came and told me, he said, man, I can play my music loud, man, but when I start playing that rap stuff, man, your father don't like it. So I gotta play it. I gotta go old school. I go, okay. So he's in his music from the 70s and everything,
Right.
Man,
Yeah.
your dad don't like when I go with the rap thing. I go,
Right.
yeah, because trust me, he can be vocal. Oh yeah, man, your father is very vocal, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I say all of that to talk about the tale.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we don't understand the blessings
Mm-hmm.
when we're not able to obtain how God really works and how he under his covenant, which is why I asked the question
Mm-hmm.
again, why do we get married?
Mm.
See, because I was hoping that Rosalind Gentry and Miss Crosby would show up because they promised me that they would, because
Okay.
I wanted to hear their version of it.
Okay.
That's
what watch our time.
Of the female version,
Right.
because of what it meant under the sake of the covenant of the Lord, and the whole foundation of the family comes through him and what it stands for.
Right. Okay.
And since it's always under attack, and you're under attack anyway. And what is it without family? What is life without family?
Mm-hmm.
We have seen what happens when the family is torn. We've seen what's happened
Yeah.
when the family is broken.
Yeah.
We've seen what happened when the father is missing, when the mother is missing, when these
Exactly.
things are being done where the foundation of the family is not there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure you deal with that all the time through all of your
Oh,
clients
yeah.
and everything else, because of the lack of it's nothing is being fertilized the way
Yeah.
that it should. So when it grows, when it uproots itself, you'd be like, oh man, that's a pretty tree.
Mm.
It has a little blemish on it, but it's giving off some great fruit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so the whole foundation of what I understood,
Mm-hmm.
now I could be wrong, but that's what I thought it was. I thought that you got excited about this person being in your life because you wanted to go before the Lord, and you saying to the Lord, this is the one.
Mm-hmm.
And I know from this day forward that through all our highs and our lows and our struggles, you're going to look out for us
Yeah.
regardless of what it is, because you are blessing us.
Right.
And when the storm comes,
Uh-huh.
because the storm coming,
Oh yeah.
this is what this is about, because we're a family.
Yeah.
And the family in the storm will test the family
Yeah.
and see
Exactly.
how well you're rooted. So that's why I asked, why do you get married?
Well, we really do have, and Charles, I'm glad that you raised that both the subject and the comment, because the way that I see it, and that I work with couples, is to take both the if you want to call it the secular aspect of a marriage, and that is the finances, the day-to-day kind of things, and the spiritual, because in many ways the two things and this is again, as you were saying, in my understanding, the two things do have to be blended together, in order to make things really work. Because sometimes, and I've seen this occur when everything is on the let's call it the money and the finances. Okay, things don't seem to work all that too well. Okay. Also, I've seen it on the other side, and that is when there is the emphasis on just what people think is the spiritual. Okay,
Yeah.
and let me just finish the thought.
Mm-hmm.
And by when I say what people think is the spiritual, often I see in my practice, individuals will say, "Well, I go to church every Sunday, I tithe, I say my prayers, I listen to the preacher, I do all of those things. So my marriage is supposed to be, all right." Okay, all right. You see where I'm coming from,
Right.
and I'm saying, well, brother, with all of that, are you honoring,
Right.
your wife, your spouse?
Right.
Okay, are you treating her
Mm-hmm.
the way that it's in Scripture?
Mm-hmm.
That it does say. Often, what I'll hear is, well, it says, well, the man is supposed to be the head, of the household, the head of the body.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, did you read the rest of that verse?
Right.
That talks about
Right.
men needing to,
Well,
to also honor
right.
the women in their lives.
Well, see, this here would be a great show, and I would love to have women. And this here need to be a forum because as I understand it, I think that a lot of people who have been in relationships and marriages don't get what you just said. And I think because a lot of women have never experienced that type of man, and a lot of men have not experienced that type of woman, even though a lot of couples live that life. So a lot of people don't know that exists. So when you talk about it, they look at you like you crazy. So if they never seen it, understand it to be that way, because I think it's so hard to give ourselves up and to, as you say, die daily to yourself, and to know what it means as to God love your wife as God loved the church, or love your spouse through Him first,
Right.
and to truly understand what that means. Because I always say, and people don't understand what I mean by this, if you ever want to truly understand, always go back to the garden and what was in the garden with Adam and Eve. Alexis wasn't in the garden.
Okay.
Living in Windermere was not in the garden.
Right. Right.
All these things in which we place these values on and love on, and then you try to explain to them. I said, let me tell you the philosophy of a man, because you as a woman, you get caught up in that big rock. I said, do you know that in a man's mind, the bigger the rock, the more I can act a fool. The more I think I got a right because of, look at what I put on your finger. Nothing in life is free, but you placing the emphasis on that ring, and that ring is not going to stop him from cheating.
Right.
That ring is not going to make him come home. That ring is not going to make him love you. That's just something he went out to put on you to say, I'm claiming you. Now you want to put emphasis and a meaning on that, but it's just a piece of it's just a thing. Now what's in his heart and in his mind and in his spirit is where you need to be focused. Now if you want to go pawn that ring, now that's something different.
Right.
But if
Right.
you want to talk about and want something meaningful, it will never be the size of the ring that, I mean, he can buy it, yeah, but it's not the ring. You can get caught up on the ring. That's what I mean. Because
Right.
I don't think there was the ring in the garden. Not
Right. There you go.
I mean, see what I'm saying? It's
Right.
who I am to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, it's for a lot of men who have money and we're egotistical anyway. And I'm trying to tell you, a lot of time, the bigger the ring, the bigger the house, the nicer the car, the more he goes, "Yeah, I got freedom to do because I'm the man." And
Right.
listen to what I'm saying. Look at what I do.
Right.
Look
right.
at what I do. You need to shut up.
Right.
You need to.
And look at what I did for you. What I
Right,
did
and
for you, yeah.
and see that ring is blinding me anyway. What
Right.
what you talking about? You
Right.
know what?
Exactly.
You know, is anything good enough for you?
Mhm.
You know?
Exactly. Exactly. And you know, Charles, you know, we come back to in almost all of our conversations that sense that the values that we place most emphasis on, from when we were talking about the athletes and the kind of insane salaries that they get,
Right.
to you know, as we're talking about the politicians and some of what now the public is going for, that, you know, if we don't take a look at the kind of values that are out of kilter, then I will be in business for a long time, and you know, and in fact, I have more than enough of a waiting list.
Wow.
You know, for folks, you're wondering, well, what happened?
Hmm.
But what happened is that sense of living by these values that place such an emphasis on, as you say, the Lexus or the McMansion, you know, or the status of, my husband is Dr. So and so,
Right.
or my old lady is the one who she's out there working and buying me clothes and buying me a car and send me on vacation and, you know, and
Right.
all that kind of nonsense. And unless we really take a look at what that is about, then it is going to be very easy, you know, for that enemy, that dissolution, for that further dysfunction to come in. And I think as black folks, we're at, as you said, we're often looked at, as you were using the analogy of the tail. We were often looked at as the tail and disregarded.
Correct.
But the interesting thing is, as we know about, you know, many creatures in nature, that tail is often what balances
Right.
that creature, that allows that creature to attain the kind of preciseness in its motions,
Right.
and is able to leap and to run and to walk. And without that tail, it's just, you know, all kind of out of kilter.
Right.
So I agree with you that a lot of times we don't appreciate that role of being the so-called tail is a critical one, you know, in our society and in our you know, and in our living. And as a result, I think one of the verses out of Scripture that talk about the first becoming last and the last becoming first,
Right.
has a tremendous amount of truth to it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So we need to pay attention to all of those tales out there.
Well, again, it's just the signs of the times, and again, as Pastor Jenkins always saying, I've heard pastors preach about being the head and not the tail, and that's what kind of throw people off sometimes too, because you they 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 preach, and it's more on the materialistic way of life. And then it's kind of like the way the world sees you, that if you don't have a certain amount of money in the bank, then you have no value and you are nobody. And that's the way the world sees you, and that's so far from the truth. And it's just sad, again, when it goes back to the breakdown and the lack of the foundation of the family, and someone to teach the young people, because you know it's old. I mean, it's bad when you're an old fool. I mean, I mean, you can be a fool, but being old fool, you know, that's even worse.
Exactly.
You know, so I mean, we all have been fools in our lives, but to be an old fool, you know, and it's funny because I didn't understand what my grandmother was telling me when I was a little kid. You know, how she would say something to you, and you would answer her, and I'm like, you know, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, and she said, "Charles, it's been a long time since I've been a fool." You know, and as a little kid, I didn't understand what she was saying, because evidently I was giving him some hogwash. You know, and when you're a little kid, you don't realize the hogwash coming out of your mouth.
Right, exactly.
And you know, and she used to always look at me, "Charles, it's been a long time since I've been a fool." You know, and I'm like, "Huh?"
Right.
You know, and I'm like, "Okay," but you know, I get it now.
Right. And some of us grow up and get to be your age or my age, and are still trying to sell hogwash.
Right. You know, and then, I mean, and then you learn in life that, you know, you're gonna make mistakes, and that's part of life. But the thing is, I would love to talk about at some point a show on life when I had energy. Because when I think about some of the stuff I used to do, especially when it would come to girls in relationships, I'd be like, where did I find the energy? And how could I be focused? Because I got to a point where I couldn't focus anymore. And it got to the point where it was so easy back when I was young. Didn't think about it. And I tell this story, and it's so true. When I was coming up, when it came to girls, like going to the mall, I had a way of walking with you in the mall, but I wasn't with you.
Oh.
Okay? Now, how I came up with this method, it always worked.
Okay.
And what I have to do now is that sometimes when I'm in the mall with a female, I have to remember, oh, I can walk with you now. But I'm saying it to myself, because I still catch myself drifting off, and it's the funniest thing, because it's just so weird, you know, because there was this thing that was in me, because I just couldn't be seen with you actually walking with you at the mall.
Right.
So this technique that I had, I was with you, but I wasn't with you, and you didn't know I wasn't with you.
Okay, right. Well, listen, we're definitely going to have to do, you know, a show on that.
But the whole thing,
because I want to check out this technique now, you know.
But the whole thing of what I'm saying is, when I got to a certain point was, in my 40s. I just, all the things that came so easy that I could do in my sleep, I couldn't do anymore. It was the strangest thing. And now when I sit back and I go through some of my old letters that I got back when I was in college and all that other stuff, and I'm looking at the letters from the different people, and I'm going like, where did I find the time
to do all that?
Oh, and I'm like, it's just, it blows my mind. And I'm like, wow. And I couldn't even begin to, I don't even know how to, it's just strange. It's weird. I miss it sometimes though.
Right. Like you said, you know, you wish you had the energy, you know. But I'm looking at our time, and, you know, as usual, even just with the two of us here, we've managed to go over our allotted time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I think that the conversation for me has been, you know, really you know, useful, and I hope to our audience that are listening to us that you've gained something out of our conversation tonight. Please give us a tweet, if you will.
Oh, and you,
Go ahead.
no, I'm gonna need to talk with you about that. Something came over me the other night, and that I need to talk with you because a lot of this stuff that's gonna be going on is gonna be based on you now.
Oh boy.
The success and the failure of the Journey 2020 is gonna be based on you.
Now, you see, folks, how my co-host is changing up on me, but come with it, okay?
No. I'm going to talk to you about it when the show ends.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah. So you go ahead and close us out.
Okay. Well, again, family, I'm going to be curious as to what Charles has got up his sleeve, but I must say I've enjoyed just every version of the Journey 2020. We're going to be continuing on. For those of you who are here in Orlando, tomorrow morning, and I know it's a little bit late, but if you're watching the show tonight, and well, let me see. Well, we've aired live, so if you are up and about at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, we're having our annual recovery walk and run in Barnett Park. It's a 3K run.
Right.
I'm sorry, 3K walk and a 5K run.
This is this is what year is this?
And this is going to be for the coalition. It's the 13th year.
Okay, there you go.
For us, as in MCAN, and we're doing this as part of the coalition. It will be our 9th year.
Okay, all right.
And so, join us if you can. It's free. It's going to be a bunch of fun. We're going to have music, food, entertainment, speakers, the whole deal. And if you can't make it, then join us next week at the Journey 2020, where the journey is from me to you and from you to me so that we can reach a higher level. Good night. See you next week.